When I first saw it in action, I kind of couldn't believe. But with the DNA stuff, when I'd heard about that, I was kind of like, you know, you just don't believe that this is possible. Hi, my name's Jason Phats. You probably know me from Phats Small. I'm here in my Brighton studio, yeah, I've been working in the music industry for over 25 years. I started by playing instruments in bands when I was at school, and then that led me to start to indulge in electronic programmed equipment. Because of the battles that go on in bands. So yeah, and through that I got involved in the club scene. I was grew up through the dance music explosion, and I was fortunate enough to be mentored by Carl Cox in the early days in 87, 88, 89, and I travelled around the country following this guy, and he lived in Brighton and was a huge help to me. And then I picked up my first Akai sampler, which is still up in my loft, and that led to, you know, the beginning of my dance music career. Yeah, I was running an Atari ST with an Akai sampler and a Boss SE50, and mixing it all through a phonic mixer, DJ mixer. And that's how I started out, and then slowly built the equipment up over the years. I discovered Melodyne when it first came out. I've been using it since day one, you know, and the guys have been really supportive. I kept in constant contact with them, always been helpful, and even when it was in its early stages back then, it was still an incredible piece of software. You know, it has got a magic to it it's just inspiring. It allows you to do things which could never have been done before. It's, especially with vocals, that's been its main process. That's what I've used it mainly for throughout the last 8 years. But now it's become, especially recently, it's been something I've been experimenting with and looking, because, you know, these days it's about creating a different sound. You know, there's a lot of music coming out, and to stand tall in the crowd, you need to come up with an original sound. And when you're working with these pieces of software, you start to bend the rules. You start to do things that they're not really designed to do, and that's when you kind of get results. And so I've kind of been playing around with this recently, and I've got some tracks that I'm, you know, looking at releasing over the next couple of months, which are going to be a lot of it will be based on Melodyne technology, and doing stuff that, well, I don't know whether anyone else is doing it, but it sounds different. You know, it's crazy. It's good fun. You can do it. I'd never been using controlling automation with Melodyne before. You know, I'd never really done that. So you can start to change formants and split notes and put curves in, and just doing some real crazy stuff with it. Not just with vocals, using a multiple, you know, selection of sounds. So it's like a sequencer within the sequencer. And when you start to approach it like that, because you can have so many different things going on now, yeah, it's full of power. When I first saw it in action, I kind of couldn't believe. But with the DNA stuff, when I'd heard about that, I was kind of like, you know, you just don't believe that this is possible. And then when you start transporting audio into MIDI data, you know, and you start delving into that side of it, and like you know, that in itself is a standalone program as far as I'm concerned. That's well worth spending the money that Melodyne costs. You know, when you get the whole package there, yeah, it does a huge amount now. Compared to what it originally did. But what it did originally was good enough for me. What it does now, it's an overwhelming amount of possibilities. But yeah, you could take an audio, take a piano sample, or a section of music that you created, and you load it up in Melodyne. It will split the notes up that you can edit, but then you can transfer that information to MIDI and put it back in your sequencer. and have the sequencer then play any sound of your choice to replicate the original audio. I mean, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, one of the things I really love about it is the performance. When you start playing performance, that's kind of what I've started to do recently, and sort of, you know, the widening of the throat and making things sound really breathy, and so yeah, that's something I've been playing with loads. And creating harmonies, you know, on just playing around and being really random and creative with it. Like I say, there's tracks that I'm working on that are entirely based around the music that's going on in Melodyne. Yeah, it keeps it creative, it keeps it different, it gets me moving around. You know, I do this because I love it, and it's kind of like, these are all the toys, really. You know, this is a big playground, whereas I won't touch something for a while, I'll hook it up, and wow, you know, it takes me off on a different journey. So yeah, it's all about being creative, using these pieces of equipment as inspiration. I've enjoyed putting so much into this. I get so much out of it. You know, this is the one thing in life that's been pretty consistent with me, and that's making music. You know, I do it because I love it. I've been fortunate enough to make a career, and I'm, you know, so grateful for that. But yeah, I'd still be doing it if, you know, it was just as joyous when I wasn't making any money as it is now, making a living out of it.